When I carve, I'm never alone. I know I'm surrounded by guidance, encouragement, and not necessarily seeing who is around me or who's with me or walks with me, but it's just a feeling of warmth when I'm working, and that's where a lot of the wisdom is. And the wisdom really is it goes back to a core center, which is the Creator. So all I'm doing is really honouring the Creator and creation.
Good morning and welcome, Louis Kereopa. I fondly know you as Matua. You're a revered kaumatua, Māori elder, nature-based spiritual counsellor, mentor, healer, and traditional master carver. An elder of the ANIWA, International Council of Elders as well, dedicated to fostering global unity and spiritual growth by celebrating the diverse traditions of indigenous cultures around the globe. It's a lot that you're doing, Matua. You're very busy. But before we go into the Anawa gathering this year, tell us a little bit about your role here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, as a wisdom keeper and master carver.
I'm a master carver, and through the carvings that I do, that's the voice for me, and that's where a lot of the wisdom is. And the wisdom really is it goes back to a core center, which is the Creator. So all I'm doing is really honouring the Creator and creation, wherever that creation is, above, below, within, without, everywhere. And so that's my service as a master carver, but also as an individual artist. And there is an opportunity for me to do what I'm sharing with you online. But also I have been interviewed by ANIWA, and I have been interviewed by other friends for their own understanding, for their own personal endeavours with their life. But also for, I would say, 4 or 5 years now, I've been an online elder and counsellor for gatherings that began when COVID came.
Wow.
And so 2 friends of mine that are overseas, one's in Portugal and one's in Bali, and we used to have these gatherings in live out at West Auckland. And then when the COVID came, it was decided we can still continue, but to go online. And so the audience is quite wide, as I'm speaking to you, worldwide. And the numbers of people that have come when these sessions have taken place, from about 10, usually 10 to 15 people. Just depends on who's able to come on board, or who finds that there is something that some answers for themselves. And the program is quite advanced. There's quite a lot that is shared online, but also in the physical sense, they have to do things for themselves, and so they're set about to do tasks in their own area where they come from. But they also have an opportunity to ask me questions that relate to them personally, and I find it's really interesting. It's rewarding because the questions themselves really has an answer in itself, and I think, as an elder, it's mainly to support them. Whatever truth that comes up within themselves, that's what it's all about. And I can only share from my own personal experience to help them to help themselves. So yes, that's the online gatherings, and it's going strong. And my two friends, one's in, as I said, one's in Bali and one's in Portugal. They only young people in their mid-30s,
Mm-hmm.
and they love that service that they can share based on their own experience and based on what we've done together collectively. Yeah.
So an elder in Māori is a wisdom keeper, is that right? They're the person who the young ones coming to you with questions about what? What is the general theme that you are being asked?
And the general theme is usually self-healing, or ways that they can heal themselves, whether it's through the availability of in their own country of medicinal, or the other one is spiritual. You know, it's usually spiritual or based on their own personal experiences that they've had, and trying to find a form of clarification that they could understand. And so I try and keep it simple, you know, and because it's with healing, physical healing and spiritual healing, that's huge, and it'll take them a whole lifetime. But at least, you know, there's what I call a kickstart for them, and then it's up to them to continue their own learning, to reach out, not just me, but wherever that information is, or that knowledge may be, that's close to their, in close proximity to where they live or that country. So, yeah.
So, Matua, you grew up here in Aotearoa, and were you always this wise? Were you the wise one from the beginning?
Well, from the beginning, I was the shy one in the family. I was very timid. And it took me a while to gain, what I would say to gain, it took me quite a while to come out of my shell. Very shy, very timid. However, it seems that it meant to be, like, I'm grateful how it started that way, because it was then to both my parents, my mother and father, they were my greatest mentors. They were my main teachers, you know, wonderful. And there was always encouragement from them to, you know, to find my way, you know, in life. And they were very supportive of that. I grew up in a family of 7 boys and 2 girls, and they were peers, my peers, as well as my siblings. That they were always there, although that as they grew older, my parents sent them away to boarding school, you know, away from home to further their education. And they're all very successful. The world is their stage, and you know, all the different pearls that they were able to come across that would help them onto their own personal choice of where they wanted to be in life. In a family of 9, it was not so much of what we talked about with each other, it was just each other's presence. You know, like we would meet when they would come back from boarding school, and our conversations usually ended in just one day.
So, Matua, would you call your family, were they quite traditional Māori as well, in the sense of how they raised you with the spirituality that you were raised with?
Both of my parents are very Maori indeed, very much so, and very spiritual in the sense that we were brought up in a very close Roman Catholic family. That didn't deter us from our own culture. It actually blended in quite well. that was the beauty of what people call it, Roman Catholic religion. It was the simplicity that was, and the teachings about life, really, and the holy book, or the book that we knew of. And it was, there were some key teachings in there to help us to be ourselves in that sense of the religion, but also to blend both that and our cultural aspects perfectly. And I still live that today. I can share with here that I no longer go to church. I go direct. And I was asked by an elder, a very gifted woman. She would, hopefully she's still alive, but she was well into her 80s, and she was a great mentor for me in the spiritual sense. Very strong, very straight, very South African, very German, very Holland, and a good friend, but a good mentor and a good mother person. Oh, yes. So, and I miss her dearly, and I'm sure if she sees over the other side, she'll be here enjoying listening to you and I talking.
I'm sure there's quite a few out there who are listening to us talking and enjoying it all. I want to talk to you about your carving, because this is a very important part of your practice, your carving.
Yes.
And when I say practice, I mean that is a philosophy as well as a spiritual practice. And you became a master carver around 1972, I think. And at that time, you actually were given the recognized name Matapuna, living spring. Now, what does that mean? I know the context of nature and all parts of nature is very important in Māori. It's very integrated into your life and into your ancestry. And so living spring, Matapuna, beautiful name. Why did you get that?
Well, coming back to my years of training, the 3 years at the traditional school in Rotorua, 3 years, and at the end of the 3 years, it was then decided that there be some formal certification. So we graduated under the umbrella of the Diploma of Fine Arts, but that still didn't. Those 3 years just meant that I was coming to the end of my training, and then the learning would begin. So I graduated with a Diploma of Fine Arts, but when I left to go back home, that's when it really began. And so from there, through the years, as a tutor, right up towards the end of 1999, I was known as not as a master carver, but as a tutor, knowing full well is that the levels of being given for from a student, and the levels to be attained to become recognised, known by him as master carver or tohunga. That blessing comes from the people, not the person. So the level which I share of Matapuna, a living spring, is to respect the very, very few that were in my understanding that would attain that level, because it was a tree. It's likened to a tree, a living tree, and the living waters was relating to the flow of that amount of knowledge that that person or that carver would have attained and experienced. And he would have been known by, I would say, just about every tribe in the country because of his skill, because of his caliber of that skill and his own personal learning that he learnt, whether it be handed down or whatever way it came to him. That's how he was recognised as being a living spring. Carving was one thing, but it was the understanding of every aspect related to carving, the stories, the language. Well, that's why it's a matapuna. It's a living spring. It just keeps flowing and flowing till that matapuna passes over. So really, I'm still a baby. I class myself as a baby because, it's a huge tree to climb, but it's like the tree itself, the canopy of the tree is, what fruits do I bear that people can taste? What have I enabled that tree to be fruitful, so people can do their own research or learn a lot more about that side of carving. And a living spring is like the waters that flows over everything. The level and attainment that is really, really deep and very, very high. So yeah, I love the word matapuna, the living spring, because that is who I am. It continues to flow. It's unstoppable. It was, that's what the life of a matapuna, a kaumatua elder, the levels of that tree. There's a fruit of each stage of that tree, but it has to have water. It has to have that living spring essence spiritually inside,
So it's a
I'm willing
beautiful
to.
metaphor, for you being that source, if you like.
And while I'm sharing with you and whatever's coming to enable me to speak, I'm only the vessel. The creator is the doer. And that's why people talk about my service and that. I lead them to go straight to source, always first and foremost.
It's true, though, that being in your presence, Matua, and actually being in the presence of your beautiful po, the carvings, which are strong, powerful, they're light channels, and you cannot help but feel the transmission, if you like, of what they offer. And it's come through you, through your hands, through your carving, to be shared with us and to
Yes,
be put back into the earth, because they stand as strong. For those who don't know po, they're like a single standing, for want of a better word, like a totem, a strong carving with a lot of story and spirit within it.
yes, yes.
Yeah. And I always felt watching you carve was like watching someone channel spirit, really.
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
Yeah. If I can share is, when I carve, I'm never alone. I know I'm surrounded by guidance, encouragement, and not necessarily seeing who is around me or who's with me or walks with me, but it's just a feeling of warmth when I'm working. And there's no actual expectations when I'm doing any work. Indeed, there's a story. Indeed, there's maybe some form of consultation. But all I can liken my work to is like, all I'm doing is taking the wrapping off and letting the carving speak for itself. And that's so every chip that comes away, the form itself just happens. I used to do preliminary sketches when people were wanting projects, but then I stopped. And I stopped because I got to a stage where people said, "Oh, we'll leave it up to you. You know what to do." Rather than me telling you what you should do and what I would, how this should be. But it's the friendship or the consultation is with that one person or that group, and it's so important in the consultation. Whatever the story is to be, I may have read it before, or someone may have told me. But one story has many stories within it. It's that huge. So my work is, my carving is in simplicity. I prefer simplicity rather than having a lot of intricate, different things and incorporated into it. And for me, I rather simplicity rather than choking, and just going by the basic theme of the story. In other words, not overdoing it, just doing enough is enough so that people still have their own personal imagination of what they would feel about the story themselves, eh? So that even though they're looking at the physical part, which is the carving that I'm creating for them, and it's amazing what it does to them, their own personal experience, and wow, the sky's the limit after that.
And you're also known for a specific prayer, open eye action prayer called Te Rakau Rangimarie, or Way of the Peace Stick. And you use a tokutoku,
Yes.
carving a stick with that. Tell us a little bit about that and where that came from.
The Way of the Peace Stick began when I was living in a community in Albany, and it was just by chance and meeting friends, which is obvious. And there was one friend, when he came into the community, he had an unanswered question on his mind or in his heart, and he had been praying for it. And I don't mind sharing. He asked the Creator to send him not a priest, but to send him someone that could help him with his journey. Well, and that's when we met, and we became friends. And it was from there that the Way of the Peace Stick developed. And it came about just by what is something that we can visualize and put into practice and ask for guidance. What is that? What can we do so that we can share with people in that form, just through holding a bamboo stick or carved staff. And so the Way of the Peace Stick unfolded over quite a long period of time. And then it dawned on both of us that, oh, wow, it's nature. Let us do the Way of the Peace Stick to honour the guardians of nature: earth, wind, fire, water, wood, and metal. So we taught that form in the community with about 2 or 3 people. Then we both went on. When we decided to move on with our journey, I kept going, and he did also for a while. And I'm not too sure where he's at with that. If he's still doing it for himself, that's fine. But the Peace Stick, I continued it, and it went into another level, of quite a deep level, in acknowledging the spiritual world, the spiritual realm. And I only taught an elder, a grandmother. She was the only one that walked this journey with me, because I was living on the property on her daughter. I was living with them for 9 months doing a pou, and it was there that the way of the peace stick was taught to the grandmother and also the mother, and the children were there just to have fun with us as well. But she was the only one that I felt comfortable into taking her to another level, quite a deep level, and what she experienced, she can only explain for herself. But it was an advancement for her own personal spirituality. Going from there, I went to Australia to a gathering over there, and I had 60 people with bamboo staffs doing the way of the peace stick. It was a huge circle. I spent about an hour, maybe hour and a half teaching the way of the peace stick. There were children involved, adults of different ages, different cultures. They all came to spend that whole afternoon with me. And the photograph, we were all gathered there. And in this photograph, there's a tree behind us, and there's a ray of light coming straight through me into the ground. But it's the way the photograph came out with the tree and a rod of light went right through it. You could see going through me. It was a different colour into the ground. And then from there, I went to ANIWA, and the 2 or 3 times now that I've been to ANIWA, and up to about 20 people, coming to enjoy, because the way of the peace stick is to be that innocent child and just to have fun, to play. It's nothing scary, it's honouring the guardians of nature, which have said, but it's about enjoying themselves, whether they related to Tai Chi or those other forms of martial arts, and that fine. But the way of the stick is the way of the peace stick.
When I saw you last, and you were on a mission to carve 12 pouwhenua to honour, I think it was the creator of life. Pillars of consciousness is what you call them. Pillars of consciousness and spiritual antennae almost. And tell me, are you still doing that? And where are they? And where are the ones that you have currently placed? And why? What are they there for? What's their purpose?
Well, the pou that's standing and carved and always honouring the Creator. It's just going to take a little moment. And it's through the people that come for the unveiling and the blessing of the carving. That's where the confirmation comes of what they see or what they feel. Is quite powerful. And just for an example, when I did the Apo and the Peace Garden in Mount Shasta, there was 80 people on that day that came, and there was there was a boy and a girl that were between their mother and myself to do the unveiling and the blessings. And why I chose that, but also coming back into the pou that's out at Kare, there's 2 there. I chose the innocence of a child. For me, they were the ones that had the power, because of their purity, to do that blessing. And I honoured them, the purity and the pure innocence. Other people, in respect for them, and when it comes to unveiling and carving, they get an elder. Someone old and someone who's understanding and the knowledge and all that. Yeah, that's fine. But I always felt, no, children, they are pure. So I chose them to do the unveiling, and it was powerful. Just their presence, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there a significance to where they go?
It's to whoever owns the land or lives on the land. That's where the site is chosen, and somehow it's like that's where I am called in. I'm called in to do the work, and in order to, before I even begin to be carving, something happened in the background prior, months before that came about. And that's the most amazing part, is the people who would share their own personal experiences as to why this carving is on their property and what they experienced before before I was chosen to do the work. And each one of these carvings I carved on my own. 2, 3, 4 months, to do a pou, and incorporating knowledge of the area, or so that it becomes a more home and stabilized for those people and the people that will be affected by that pou. And it's on the blessings of the day is where I always share now is that the final confirmation comes from the Creator. And that's when the people that are gifted, that see the rod of light coming to touch the carving, and it goes straight through the carving into the ground. And it is like a vortex, of light that comes down. It touches the top of the carving, goes down through the work and into the ground. But it also is a vortex where those who have passed over, going way back in history, also come forward to go and walk into the light to be taken home. So, and for my hair standing up a little bit, but so it becomes huge. It's like a Jacob's ladder for them. Or they just and walk into the light and taken home. And these would have been people that have been passed over for many, many, many years, and who had been waiting for that sign of that time when they knew that they had to wait for something, and that something was the pou.
And these are spirits, if you like, that have been earthbound for a while to go through that gateway. Is that what you're?
Yes, their wairu or their spirits.
Wairoa, yeah.
Taken. Just coming back, and these would have been people that were during those days when there was battles. They hadn't gone home. They were still in that area. Well, the area might have been blessed and cleared, but somehow it needed something else. So it had been that long. They had been waiting that long, and it had been seen by some. It's usually the women that are present with the pou. After the blessing, the women come and they gather around the pou to have their own prayers and that. And it's usually then while the rest of us are going inside to have something to eat, the women stay behind. And then they're able to share between themselves what they feel or what they see. That know that they don't share with anyone else, but they tell me. Matua. Yeah.
Wow. What did they tell you? What stories have they come back with?
It's quite emotional, but it's also quite, there's a lot of energy, and each one of what they see, or what they feel, or what they hear. not a lot, but just what they really need to share to give me confirmation about the work. Yeah, and it doesn't belong to me, as I was sharing. I do the work for the Creator.
I always felt like the earth creates crystals. You were creating a crystal, if you like, for that was to be planted in the earth. They feel like that to be around them, the same
Yes.
quality, if you like. Yeah.
If I may extend to that, is that light going through the carving actually goes out as far as it needs to go, for miles, in fact, as a calling. And that's where a lot, not just locally around the pou where I'm carving, even further than that, it vibrates, the light or the energy just moves right out and wide. And that's where the gathering comes in of those spirits, of those people that have passed over. And the joy, the extreme joy, I know. They would have been singing when they got home, eh? They were just such a huge celebration for them.
Yeah. Beautiful freedom, for them.
Beautiful freedom, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there are going to be people who are going to ask, so I'm just going to go back to this, your beautiful moko. And what's the significance? I understand you got that once you'd completed your training as a carver as well. Was that a rite of passage for that? And tell us a little bit about it. The moko being the beautiful markings on your face and body.
It started because where my local community house was, or what we call the meeting house, and there was the artwork of the people, carvings, the panels, the paintings, and I could only soak that up. And there was one particular ancestor I was called to come into. He needed what we call a little bit of TLC, so I recreated his face, not changed it, but after a while, when the weather goes over something, you start to lose the etchings in it. So I just gently went through the whole face of of my ancestor, and as I continued with my journey, I became drawn to the markings of my ancestors, or of ancestors, and seeing them now appearing on the faces of different people. But deep inside of me, there's the word called mana. Mana is status, and I can honestly say that's what I was needing or wanting at that particular, on my journey, to have some form of mana or status. I didn't really need it because I am who I am, and however, being a carver and artist and being surrounded by all the beautiful work, I decided I'll become one of those carvings.
Yeah, you embodied it. You embodied it totally.
And it unfolded through a really close friend of mine. And the name of my moko, moko ka nohi, moko is the outcome, ka nohi is my face. The name I gave it, or how I felt it should be shared with, because it doesn't belong to me, it's a mirror reflection.
Wow.
So when you and I look at each other, it's a reflection of each other.
Oh.
And it's whether it's from a child or to someone from another culture. Soon as window to window, well, you're both going to see, and that's what it is. You're a reflection of who you are with each other.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
I must say, I must share with you while I'm here. There's only two that they gave them a fright, and one was a little boy, after a meal and it was coming to sunset, I was standing outside the community hall, what we call whare kai, not particularly doing anything. And this little boy came out with his mum, and he just took one look at me and he screamed. And the other one was a grandchild of mine, but it was only very short with that. He got over that quick and realised that I wasn't intimidating as he thought I might be. So yeah, that's the only two, and everyone else, well, they would have their own opinions and maybe their own words with what the markings on my face, but that's their experience. That's their free choice, not mine. Yeah,
it's so lovely nowadays to see more and more of more moku appearing. I grew up in Whakatane down in Bay of Plenty, and
yes.
I grew up around quite a few women with moku. That was quite normal when I was little. It then seemed to go away. Now it's coming back, which is really beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful, yes, indeed,
Yeah.
beautiful. And yeah, the women don't need any makeup and stuff. They've got the moko kowai on their chin. Yeah, they're stunning. Some of the ones I've seen with the women and the men, and for their own, whatever that purpose or reasons that they have, wearing those sacred markings of our ancestors.
And Matua, let's go to ANIWA. And for those who don't know what ANIWA is, explain it to us. From what I understand, it's a great gathering of elders like yourself from all indigenous people around the world, coming together as elders. Yeah,
it's the gathering of indigenous people that are chosen from countries. Yes, from Brazil. You go into native Turtle Island, America. I'm the only one. I'm the only one from New Zealand. Hopefully, in the future, there's room for more. So these elders come from those sort of affiliated countries. The Guatemala, up into America, down into Mexico, all around that part of those countries. And relating to elders, these were elders that were through meeting that they are invited, because some of these elders it will only see them generally only once in a lifetime, because they were very, 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 very old, who, for the love of they have in their hearts and for the work that they're trying to do for the planet, from their own people. And these come from elders that come from very poor countries, very poor. And so the creation of the ANIWA gathering was to be prosperous for them, as a charitable way of helping them, whatever their needs were. And so it sort of started off with a handful of elders, and now over a period of time, it's each year, apart from the COVID, which happened, that other elders have come just through word of mouth, that come to share themselves and their culture, but with a very, very strong message to the world is, what are we doing in helping this planet of ours, our Mother Earth, our Pachamama, Aotearoa, and the different names that she has. What are we doing? And these elders, because they come from very deep culture, very deep belief system, and that's why they're so close to Earth Mother, but also Father Sky and all the guardians as one big familia, or one big family. But there's always conservation that's on their mind, and what they doing in their own where they come from. Hopefully that it will just keep reminding us, well, we need to plant a tree if we can, or we need to do our part.
Okay.
But also in the gatherings is gone from a few hundred. If I remember, in the last gathering, there's up to about 1,000 people.
Wow.
Well, roughly, and it was also a way of celebrating each other and having fun and dancing and yeah.
Tell me, what is your message this year at ANIWA?
Our message this year, ANIWA, the only word that I have that comes up is aroha.
Love.
Love yourself and love your neighbour. Love, yeah. Not love in the movies and all that stuff. That belongs to Hollywood. Yeah, love. Your own personal love. Don't be afraid to love yourself. But remember there's others over the fence or in your own area. We're all brothers and sisters. We belong. We have a great teacher that's with us, has been with us right from day dot, I guess, and that's our Pachamama, Papatua Nuku, Earth Mother, who loves us. She doesn't see us as humans. She sees us as her as love. That presence of love. Yeah, she doesn't need to see us because she knows who we are. Because she knows where we came from. But that's how much love she has. Is unconditional love. And now and again, she will move because she needs to release energy or stale energy or whatever it's to she needs clearing herself as well. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Matua. And I so look forward to seeing you soon in person, actually. I hope you're around. That would be really lovely. Thank you
Yeah, it
for
will be.
thank you for today and coming on here and sharing that message of love. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think I can do a little song, and
Beautiful.
I've just that I've part of the song is which will relate to our sharing, but I would probably sing this song when I go to ANIWA. Te aroha, te whakapono. Me te rangimarie a ta whaitia. One more. Te aroha, the love. Te whakapono, the belief or the faith. Me and te rangimarie, the peace. A ta whaitia, charity, kindness.
Such a beautiful song. I grew up with that. It's such a beautiful song. And it's quite touching for me because it's actually 2 weeks ago I sat by a river with someone and sang that song. So it's thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you,
And
Matua.
that's the message. That's why at the end it's usually the tātou e. I decided to put in a ta whai tia, and yeah, be charity and be kind.
Be kind.
Kindness. We will need that flower called kindness, and charity of helping each other, not necessarily just with money, but just being charitable and friendship.
With your heart. Thank you. Thank you so much. Love you so much, Matua, and go well today. Go well. Love.
Thank you.